Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Now. Oh, are we on? And I didn't even know. Somebody didn't tell me. Hi.
I said here we go.
Oh, you said it. You said here we go. And I didn't hear it.
Don't make fun of your producer.
What do you mean?
I fixed your zipper.
She fixed my zipper. I was stuck in my jacket today. I couldn't get it up, down, inside out, or out. I was stuck. Dang. Okay, so I just had a question to ask you right before we were starting, which is, do you know, I don't know what a soybean looks like. Because you said you're going to some party dressed as a soybean.
Oh, I was kidding.
I know you
I don't
were
know what
kidding.
a soybean
I know
is.
you were kidding, but do you realize you don't know what a soybean looks like either?
I know what tofu looks like. I could probably go as tofu, just an amorphous
glob.
But I wouldn't even need a costume, really.
Soybean is a base for tons of stuff.
Yes.
But an individual soybean, you've never seen it.
Yeah, I guess I'm not.
Isn't that edamame?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. So they're little beans in a pot.
Well, then why do they call them edamame? When those are little soybeans, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So they're like peas in a pod.
Just like you and I.
Oh, the stuff you learn, I'll tell you. Anyway, Chris Potter's joining me. It's Wednesday.
You know we're going to get an email from one of your listeners in 2 minutes like, what kind of morons don't know what a soybean looks like?
All right.
That just shows how disconnected we are from
That's right. Here it is. Here's the moron right here. You're right. And Jess, the maligned producer, is the one who came up with... okay. So, oh gosh, I don't know. Lots to talk about, I suppose. Can I pull something right out of today's edition of
Please do.
City Paper? Here it is.
I hope it's a coupon from one of our many fine advertisers.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. What was it then?
This is the feedback section. It has to do with feedback on your story about, which then became a bigger story. You had done a story last week about this transgender couple, and specifically his issue with Pitt for not being able to use the locker room.
Yeah, we ended up mentioning this guy. There's a broader issue at the University of Pitt, which has sort of been percolating for a while, and I think the Pitt News and us are the only ones who've really talked about it in any depth. The controversy is when somebody is transgender, which bathroom should they use? And Pitt recently announced this policy under fairly murky circumstances and said you have to use the bathroom
of the
gender that your birth certificate.
Okay, so that would mean that they will not recognize a transgendered person.
That's correct, yes. Right. Unless that person happens to live in a state that will allow you to change your birth certificate once you've had surgery or whatever other requirements they have.
Okay.
And presumably one just wields your birth certificate to the bathroom guard outside or whatever it is.
But here's what. Okay, now you got a lot of comment.
Yeah, we got a ton on that.
Okay, and I must say, here's where I know I'm considered empathetic, liberal, and all that kind of stuff. But the first one you posted here is exactly my response.
It's
exactly my response, and I think it's a common sense one. I don't care who identifies as what, frankly. Identify with whatever gender you identify with. But if you have a penis, I do not want you in the bathroom with me. I'm sorry, but it isn't always about you. I have to admit that was exactly my reaction.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is wrong? I mean, if I don't know where people say, well, I'm transgender, so I identify now as this. But if you do, let's say you still have a penis, you feel like you're a woman, but you have a penis. I'm in a locker room, the women's locker room. I'm sorry, I don't want somebody with a penis in the locker room. I think that's a perfectly reasonable position. The
flip side of that, though, is, and what I believe other commenters have said on that is on that page is, conversely, if I go into a men's bathroom dressed as a woman, I'm far more likely to be subject to physical reprisal, of all kinds, verbal and as well, than you are, because I happen to be in the stall next to you. And honestly, I mean, look, I guess when I think about this story, transgender issues are kind of hard for a lot of people to wrap their heads around, and I include myself in that.
I include myself in that
sometimes
too.
Not because I feel threatened by who's in the next stall.
No, you just can't wrap your head around it.
There's just things about it where I think even those of I think we should be honest about. Just sort of it can be tricky, and it's something I work on. When I sort of read the comments and the feedback on this story, one thing I remembered is I spent some time up in Vassar College years and years ago. I had a girlfriend who lived there, and I went to visit her, and
you found her. I know when you found her in the
no.
room.
Well, the thing is, Vassar had just gone to co-ed, and so all the bathrooms were co-ed bathrooms. So you would be in there taking a shower, and as far as you knew, now they were individual shower stalls. They weren't some big giant, shower room or whatever. But as far as you knew, there was a woman in the shower next to you or whatever. And I remember not being weirded out by any of that whatsoever. It was just kind of like you just kind of rolled with it. It's just like how it was. Of course, I was a guy. Maybe it was different, but I don't think the women there seemed at all alarmed by my presence either. The one thing that was really weird was brushing your teeth at the sink next to a woman who was also brushing her teeth. And I was just like, that was the one part that was like,
problem.
That was the one part where I was just like, wow, this is a little weird.
Well, brushing teeth wouldn't. See, I would not be comfortable in a co-ed bathroom. Yeah. And maybe that's a generational thing, but good Lord. All I'm saying is, at some point I do, and I appreciate your saying you have some, you work on this one too, because when we first, when the couple in question here that ended up before the grand jury yesterday.
Right. Well, that's sort of a separate.
I know, but when they showed up, I mean, there's not a person I really know who would have looked at the picture of the two of them for the first time and not either laughed. I'm serious. Okay. I'm going to be honest. Laughed, started making jokes. Just couldn't believe what they were looking at. And I have to, I'm sorry. And I was thinking, geez, if I was a transgendered person and I'm looking at that picture, I'm thinking, hey, what does it have to be them for? I'm sorry. I'm going to be so politically incorrect here. I'm sorry. First of all, it's an odd couple. Even if you just slice away the other stuff, a 7-year-old woman who looks like a man. I mean, neither of these guys look like they've done this it looks like a man with long hair, balding in a dress. I'm sorry. And then the boyfriend
I met 2 out of the 3 of those criteria at one point in my life.
And then the the so-called boyfriend is so girlish looking, you could, but does have a deep voice, I note. And is this tiny little 20-something-year-old who's causing all this trouble? Whatever. There's part of me that did say, well, I am so sick of the subset of a subset of a subset of a subset. And I used to make fun of the LBGT, QS. LMPOQRM trans. They just keep coming up with more, because sexuality is more than just one or the other. We admit that. There's more than 2. But you can break this down and break it down some more and break it down some more. And at some point, I think a rational society lets out a scream.
Yeah, or a rational society tries to figure out a way where we don't get so hung up on those very divisions.
But the thing is, it's not just about them. So you've got all these individual people.
I understand.
I'm in a locker room with a bunch of other women. We are naked. We're getting dressed or undressed, and next to me is somebody that just looks to me. I don't know what's going in their head. They're feeling like a woman. I can only go on what I'm seeing. How many more? I know the majority can be tyrannical, but on the other hand,
no. This is I hear where you're coming from. We had a story a few years ago. This is sort of interesting. We've been talking about this in the office somewhat because we may revisit the whole issue because I think it's a really interesting one. We had a story a few years ago that was about a magician, a transgender male to female magician who wanted to perform her act in a kind of talent show that was being organized by feminists. Okay. And so you had this basically, all women, and not just all women, but, politically very engaged feminist women wanting to hold this event. And this transgender magician wanted to perform, and there was a lot of reaction to it and rejection to it. We've got a call. And I think what was sort of interesting about it was the very fact that, there was this question of like, well, who's got the privilege here? And I think that's something that people really struggle with. And one of the commenters on our site also said that is like, you are insisting on your own privilege here by being allowed to go wherever it is you feel you want to go, even if it makes other people uncomfortable. And I don't know what the answer is, but one would have to hope they find a way of balancing that stuff out.
Okay, we have a caller. Hello.
Hey, Lynn. Hi, Chris Potter. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hi. We're going to get a very open-minded point of view from Michael here.
Okay.
Well, I tuned in a few minutes late, so I'm not sure all of what you said. But I will say I agree with you, Lynn, about the looks. And I will also say that I have a lot of friends that are transgendered, and in my travels, and as you can imagine, I've met a lot of people that have looked that way or even stranger. And one thing I would like to say, though, I'm not sure what station you watched, but from what I heard on the couple face-to-face interviews with them, they were the most well-spoken people I have seen on local news probably in my entire life in Pittsburgh.
Well, you're absolutely right, and thank you for saying that. They're very sort of I don't know. They're capable. Yes,
they're self-possessed.
Self-possessed in a strange way. It's just that there's this cognitive dissonance that occurs in us, the viewer, I guess. And I mean, I cannot imagine going through life as they are because, as I said, I'm generally considered an empathetic liberal type, and my initial reaction was, to laugh.
Well, I never watched the local news, but I had seen a clip on something, and I was like, oh, my God, I have to watch. And I tried to switch from channel to channel to see if I could see more pictures of them because I just couldn't. I could not. It looked like the circus came to town.
That's right. It looked
because
like
I don't know if you mentioned that the one was so tiny and the one was so huge. And I thought, oh, my. And then they went for a close-up and interview and the Marty Feldman eyes, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. And then they spoke. And I thought, what a shame, because people are going to be laughing.
That's right.
And meanwhile, these are probably the most intelligent people that you're going to see on the news today or ever. And,
And let's remember, too, the whole reason they're in the public eye here, I mean, is essentially the younger member of the couple essentially ran afoul of Pitt. I think it was the Johnstown campus.
Yes.
Over the bathroom policy there, and apparently, from what I can tell and from what I've seen, that alone, like Pitt, basically sort of furnished a list of people who might conceively have a grievance with the school.
FBI asked.
And so here they are getting called into into a grand jury and all the other stuff, and these two decided to to not do the thing of sort of like putting their face and their fist in front of the camera.
I do appreciate their courage in all of this, and I also does anyone believe or think for a moment that these two are going to end up having anything to do with the bomb threats?
I find it really hard to imagine.
Me too.
especially because my understanding is the threats are continuing.
That's right.
Which they'd have to be out of their freaking minds to
But you
still
said,
be up to.
but so Michael, you said that, you said, oh no, it looks like the circus has come to town. But I think this thing is, in terms of the bomb threats, is a sideshow.
You mean the whole?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
These people did not want to be dragged out into the public eye. No, not at all. And I think it's just ridiculous that they even did it. I don't understand why they started harassing these people.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it is not a particularly reassuring display by law enforcement.
No, it's not.
The way this is being
handled.
handled.
Is who they came out with.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like with the way the Bush administration first started handling the war on terror.
Right.
They started arresting people, that didn't even know what they were doing, just so they could say they were doing something.
Or the intelligence bulletins here in the state a year or two back, and it was just like any Marcellus Shale advocacy group with a Facebook page was getting monitored, as a potential threat against the public order or whatever.
But the issue, with Pitt and this transgender thing, that's a sticky wicket. Because if you allow an individual to determine where they feel most comfortable, which locker room, well, I mean, heck, you can imagine the kind of shenanigans that could go on with that. And then
come on! I think girls and boys are brushing their teeth together, or using the same bathrooms. With a lot more issues than they would be having with that poor little transgender thing.
That's the thing, is there is that sort of. I understand what you're saying.
But what about the look at you are out there. You're more. The world is also made up of people who are modest, uncomfortable, traditional.
Right.
Don't they get it?
America,
Don't they get a say?
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that, and like I said, I think there needs to be sort of this discussion, which is a broader discussion about just that kind of issue. I think that's an honest debate. But what I don't, and I think what Michael was responding to, is like what shenanigans exactly? Are we seriously worried that frat boys, drunken frat boys, are going to dress up in women's clothing so they can go into bathrooms in Pause Bar Hall and look at boobies?
Because women's clothes are no different than men's clothes in a lot of ways. You could have jeans on and okay. But I don't want to start sounding like those people who were arguing against the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment to the Constitution 20, 30 years ago, talking about all they would ever talk about is single-sex bathrooms. Right.
I thought most dorms now were co-ed, aren't they?
Oh, God, see, I wouldn't want one.
It depends.
No, they're not. My son's isn't.
It depends a lot. There, even where I went to school, there were dorms where the building was all one sex, and then there were dorms that were by floor.
And that's acknowledging that a lot of kids don't. They just aren't comfortable.
So those would be by floor dorms, BFDRSD. Oh.
That's another acronym. Thanks for add that to the GLAD media directory.
Chris writes, you can be PC on this one. Thought you would have a good laugh. One of the morning radio shows has been saying that. Oh, I can imagine what those guys are doing with this.
Yeah, I hear it's pretty.
One of the morning radio shows has been saying that the woman in this couple looks like Scott Hartnell's aunt. Well, I don't even understand the site.
He plays for the.
In case you don't know, Scott Hartnell is a player for the Philly Flyers. Yeah. He has long red hair. Okay, and
if you Google him, you'll agree
when you see the picture. All right, okay. So so these poor people. I mean, here we are.
Well, they're easy targets.
Yeah, they are.
Right. And so they,
but we all acknowledge we reacted when we first saw them.
I bet she could put a sentence together better than Scott Hartnell. And probably better than the morning guy, too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Apparently, I have not heard, but apparently the DVE dudes have been pretty slack-jawed about this whole thing. Kind of knuckle dragging. Oh, Lynn's now incapacitated. Oh my God, I'm supposed to say something.
I feel sorry for them, and I'm glad that I got to see them, though, and I'm also very curious about their lives. It's like a John Waters movie.
It is.
Come to life in front of our eyes, and I would like to know the backstory and the front story and more about them, and I'm sure they just want to just be out of the limelight and left alone.
I don't know, they seem to be handling it pretty well.
They're using it to talk, and they're very out there. So, hey, Potter, get on it. You do it, really.
Well, I hope it does help their lawsuit then. Yeah, maybe it'll backfire on Pitt, and maybe they can get some attention, and it maybe help their lawsuit. Although, like you said, it could be a double-edged sword, because even Lynn, you're wavering on whether they have a case.
I'm sorry, I don't know. Hey, let's raise some money and send her to a spa to get done up a little bit.
Jesus. I mean, I want to say this about the whole thing. I want to say this about the whole thing. Look,
hey,
it's easy.
Zabo, where your old.
Seriously, poor dear. I mean, my God.
Here's what I want to say about this whole thing. It's like, so they're the easy targets. Easy way the way to make fun of the way they look, and I get that. Because I can be cruel as well. But I think the bigger issue here, and this is something that even we haven't really said enough about in our paper, is the way Pitt has chosen to handle this. I think is really really badly. The whole way this policy was announced was almost surreal. Somebody gets up, an official with their legal department essentially, gets up and says, "I do not want to be identified." She gets up, she says, when you talk about this meeting and what I'm about to tell you, I do not want you to identify who I am. Mm-hmm. And then she announced this policy. So you end up writing these sentences and reading these sentences in news accounts that are like, a Pitt official who would not be identified but claimed to be from so-and-so said this.
Well, what the
and
heck
no one
is that
can, and none
about?
of the people, it's not clear to me. It's not
They're
clear
afraid
why.
someone will threaten to bomb their house.
Yeah, so consider that. And that to me is the thing is like, so here we are. Here are two people who, not by their own choice really, are now out in public, and everybody knows them. And meanwhile, the University of Pittsburgh can announce this policy and doesn't even want to attach a name to the person who's disclosing it. I think that's what we ought to be ridiculing. I think that's the truly contemptible thing about this is these, Lynn, you and I may not agree, but at least we can have a discussion about this, about how to sort of come to mutual accommodations and all that stuff. And it's an honest discussion. And the way Pitt is choosing to handle this is with this sort of like, a secret person announces something in this star chamber, and then we're going to say that was the policy the whole time through, and I don't know why you didn't know that.
No,
and it's just, I just think it's unconscionable, and it does a disservice not just to transgender students, but to students and people in the community everywhere who have any kind of stake in it, which is to say anyone who uses a bathroom in the Pitt campus. I just think the whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
One interesting thing, my parents are still wintering in Florida, and they are thirsty for all this news. They're not getting the Post-Gazette where they are. Sometimes, usually they used to have it delivered there, but they're not now. And there is no national coverage on this at all. None.
Wait,
and I'm trying to tell them what's going on here. I'm saying you would not believe it. You would not believe how many threats there are a day. You would not believe what I saw in the news last night with this couple. And there's nothing. There's like a news blackout nationally.
No. There's been the New York Times has done a story. I think CNN, CBS has done. The threats have been noted. I don't think this particular aspect has been noted, but give it time, because this is made for the cable news guys.
Yeah.
Well, they do get the Wall Street Journal, but I haven't seen it.
No, I haven't seen it in there.
Cable news.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, thanks as usual for a great call. I appreciate it.
It was a great call.
Okay, bye-bye. And, I, too, in the course of my career, have met transgendered people, have interviewed them, I've done stories about them. Some of these stories are just so unbelievable, so you say rending or wrenching?
I think either will do.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
One means to tear, and the other means to what?
I don't know, to wrench.
That's why.
To adjust with a metric socket. I don't know. What do you mean to say?
Okay. But see, it's like we don't exist in a vacuum. So their struggle does bump into the public's discomfort, and yet, you can argue that was the case where, I bumped into it when I was flat out told by the general manager of the first TV station I worked. People don't want to listen to a woman.
Right.
You have no authority. And that was the sense then in my life. Right. So things move and change.
Right.
I'm just telling you that when somebody who's generally pretty easy about bending, start feeling like I can't quite do this.
Right.
That's a red flag if I'm having trouble.
Yeah.
But I totally appreciate and feel for these people, as does one of our listeners who doesn't want to be identified. I so appreciate your honesty in discussing this issue today. A friend of my husband told us recently that he is going to be a woman and that he has struggled with gender identity all of his life. This person is ex-military and in anyone's stereotype views, macho in all outward appearances. Until recently. On the one hand, we feel like, so what? Still the same person. On the other hand, it's like, whoa, not the same person. Mind-boggling. But when you think of someone who has felt for their whole life that they are in the wrong body, oh, she goes with heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching. Yes. Yes. What an awful, 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 awful thing.
Yeah.
All right.
So the question is just how to have an accommodation and to
okay, so we agree
stuff out.
Pitt has handled this badly. The FBI or whoever the authorities are who hauled these poor people into the spotlight and over to the grand, but they've got to be regretting that because of how these two turned everything inside
see, that's what
out.
I'm saying.
You have never ever before, none of us have had somebody walk out of a grand jury and start yapping. Saying, okay,
talking about it here, and then I told him this.
And then they told me that. And then I said to one of the jurors, well, wait a minute. And it was like, nobody ever talks. It's like, yeah, you're brought into the star chamber.
Right.
And you're let out, and you're always, you're rattled and, frightened, and you skitter on home.
Right.
These two...
And it's like, and what's great is like the account I saw was like, her grand, I can't remember. One of them was only in there for 5 minutes. The other was in for 15. It's just like 5 minutes. Like that's barely enough time to ask for water.
That's right.
And then it's just, oh God, okay, just like I just think it's great. I mean,
what could it have been if this is really it was the guy who was in for just 5 minutes, and he was, I think, believed to be the person of interest. If he's a person of interest and he gets 5 minutes,
how are you only in for 5
front of
minutes?
The grand jury,
how interested
are
they?
Give me a break. God. No, but people want to know more. And the thing is, I can just imagine sort of the discomfort on reporters. Like, there is this sort of gawker aspect to this, and yet whatever. I would like to know, just as Michael said, more about their lives. Do they really live as man and woman?
Apparently, they must, right? I mean...
I don't know. And when you're sorry. So when you're in transition, if you're a guy who is going to be a girl, then do you have surgery? Not necessarily.
I mean, you got to remember. I mean, one of the factors here, and this came up quite a bit in our online discussion, is, not everyone who wants to have surgery is able to afford it. This is not a covered expense under most people's insurance plan, as you can well imagine, and it is a fairly extensive surgical procedure. So
you do I
haven't priced one for right.
Yeah.
Oh, and in addition to the hormones, absolutely, yes. So, yeah, I mean, I have no idea what it costs, but it's got to be in the 5 digits, I would think, right? So, and these are folks who are going to school, right? So, college kids don't have money.
No. So, okay, there's just one more on your feedback section in today's issue that shows how out of it I am. And every once in a while something like this comes along where I realize you are so old now that you don't even understand what people are saying. So here's the other one.
Right.
Nice try narrowly stereotyping metalheads, you PBR guzzling hipster.
That's from a different story, we should point out.
Okay, those skinny jeans.
No, it's funny. I just like...
Okay, I get the rest is in English to me.
Right.
So this was this was about...
Story. Right.
Well, what is PBR guzzling?
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, Pabst Blue... Okay, then I know.
It's supposedly the hipster beer of choice, so that's the...
Good, that's from Milwaukee. That's good.
See, you did understand that. You may not be up on your LGBTQ, but you're up on your PBR, and that's
I
just
was doing a New York Times crossword puzzle the other day, and it had the answer was Pabst.
Yeah,
yes, it was.
That's a good word for a crossword puzzle, right?
Yep, all those good German immigrants who came here, them Budweisers and Pabst and yeah, they were all Schlitz, all German. Yeah. They were into beer.
Yeah.
And now we are too. Okay, I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, maybe we'll get into something else?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Pittsburgh City Paper's exclusive look at vets coming home is available now. Pick up one today for Pieces of Pittsburgh, Twisted, Marley, and News of the Weird. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com.
Sewickley Med Spa is Pittsburgh's newest med spa, offering the latest in skincare treatments and medical-grade skincare products. Their providers have years of experience with aesthetic treatments and technologies such as Botox, Restylance, Juvederm, chemical peels, Retin-A, and spider vein treatments. They offer a discreet, personalized environment with only the best quality proven services and products. Call them today for a free consultation. 412-259-8628. The Sewickley Med Spa. 412-259-8628.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
We're back.
We're back. Okay, so I just want to note that Mitt Romney, who was in town yesterday at a very odd event.
Did you hear about?
What? Well, first of all, I saw that it's so typically stiff and ridiculous, and so he's sitting there trying to look relaxed at a picnic or something with these uncomfortable people, and one of the guys actually says to him, do you know that one of the guys actually said that he was willing to pay more taxes if it would get, he said, I really think that, and so I'm thinking, man, they only picked like 5 people to sit with him, and they couldn't even vet the people right so that somebody wouldn't tell him, I'm perfectly willing to pay more in taxes if it will mean blah, 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 blah. Also, there's some kind of a cookie issue?
Yes.
What was that about?
So part of what was brought to this little picnic was some baked goods from a local bakery, and Mitt Romney said, I guess you got these from the 7-Eleven bakery. like from a 7-Eleven. So these are like hometown baked goods.
And he dissed them.
Dissed them. And apparently, I should maybe not tell tales out of school, but a certain City Paper staffer has a sibling who works at the bakery.
Is the bakery not to be mentioned?
Where they were, I just can't remember the name of it. And she had been a Mitt Romney supporter up until yesterday. We're not sure whether this is gonna tip her over into undecided territory or not. But yeah, so I mean, again that sort of tone deaf weirdness.
Well, do you know what else? Apparently, Jim Roddy, who is the head of the Romney Committee in Western Pennsylvania, was not even informed that Romney was going to come to town and be here. He didn't even know about it. The bakery knew, but he didn't know. What does that say?
Well, maybe if he brought pastries to stuff more often, somebody would have told him.
Jeez.
And the other thing that happened is our good friend John Delano tweeted from the event, they are not letting us leave. They were apparently they were being held because for some reason because Mitt was giving an interview to a national thing,
and
for some reason they wouldn't let anybody leave. I guess they wanted warm bodies behind them or something like that. I just thought I was going to have to drive down to Bethel Park to spring my homie, John Delano.
So speaking of...
For that matter, I don't know that John's been released since. I don't think he's tweeted since that, so he might still be down there. Somebody give John Delano a call.
No, he's been tweeting this morning.
Oh, has he? Okay. Yeah, he always tweets before 8 a.m. It's weird.
He always tweets when he wakes up, which is very odd. He says, good morning. I'm awake. Should I go back to sleep? Things like that. Or
by the time you tweeted it, it's too late.
I know, and I'm thinking, John, get to the meat of the stuff. I mean, you say, okay, so Romney, you talk about tepid support, and you know we've been laughing about these sort of tepid endorsements. Did you hear our governor's endorsement of Romney?
Great.
I love it. Here it is, as reported in the PG. Clearly, he's going to be the nominee of the party. I'm just giving him the support of my name here and hope to help him here in Pennsylvania. You can't get more. And you would think Corbett would be a Romney supporter. Yeah. Okay, here's another great supporter high up in the Republican Party. This is Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate.
Leader,
He said, I support Governor Romney for president of the United States.
Did he actually say comma?
Yeah, comma. He was being, right. I support the SOB. And then Boehner, too. It is clear now. This is what they're all saying. It is clear now that Mitt Romney is going to be our nominee. I will support him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a guy like Boehner's in the situation of if he embraces him too much, he just sets off the Tea Party crazies who he already has to deal with on an hourly basis. So that's great. That's great though. And then Corbett, he issued this as a statement, his endorsement. He didn't show up with his arm around the guy.
There's so many of them doing that, just statements. Yeah. That's what Jeb Bush did.
Yeah.
That's what, I don't know, and W hasn't even said anything, but that's because they don't want his endorsement.
Meanwhile, the one enthusiastic endorsement he gets is one he doesn't want, which is from Ted Nugent.
Oh, yeah. And Ted Nugent, who said, what does this mean? He said... if Barack Obama becomes the president in November again, I will either be dead or in jail by this time next year.
Right, which, of course, the immediate response, which everybody had, is you just push tens of thousands of voters into the Barack Obama.
But, I mean, that suggests that he's going to, try to kill him?
He's going to get whacked, that, the black helicopters are going to come for him. And... It's just like... First of all, no one cares about you, Ted.
Yeah,
I hate to tell you this. You're just not that important. You're just some crazy moron who shoots his own game, and God bless you for it, but you haven't done anything musically relevant in decades, and you're really... Writing a column for the Washington Times and the Moonies is not...
Is that what he does?
Yeah.
Well, God help us. It's going to be a long, long, depressing slog.
Yeah. And people think it looks easy now, but it's not going to be.
Oh, God.
It's not going to be.
So, more news on the Democratic primary race for Attorney General, which I've gotten from the negative ads. But I appreciate a negative ad that tells me that what's her name?
Kathleen Kane.
Kathleen Kane is a business owner who keeps unions out of her business.
Yes, it's a family business. Yeah.
Family business. They keep unions out. And most extraordinarily, she has donated to the Corbett campaign. What is she? Is she what is this? Is this one of those things where the Republicans run somebody and pretend it's a Democrat?
No, I don't think so.
What is that?
I can't attest to the reason she
Why would a Democrat vote for her?
Yeah, I don't know, but a lot of I know Democrats who are staunchly behind her. She's gotten the endorsement of the Philadelphia Inquirer and the Daily News, I think, which are both typically endorsed Democrats. I'm not quite sure. To be honest, I didn't cover that. The person to talk to about that would be our news editor, Charlie Deitch, who covered that race. I myself have not. Charlie, I believe, spoke to either the Kane campaign by email or by phone. I can't remember which. We had Murphy here in the office, and I thought he was quite impressive. And I think it's sort of interesting that he got the National Organization of Women endorsement, despite not, being one.
They did. Here's a race with a woman in it.
So, and he's just, I think he's running a really brave and principled campaign, and so He's the guy I'm voting for. I don't really, people sometimes make cross-party contributions for a variety of reasons, not all of which have to do with ideology. I think Jim Furlow contributed to Kathleen Kane just to put some, and he's clearly no Corbett backer. I mean, he's clearly a legitimate Democrat.
Here is a Chris Potter tweet from this morning, and this was another one that I didn't even understand.
Oh,
Does a Mulchaney, what is that?
Mulchaney.
Oh, I don't know.
Aaron Mulchaney. Okay, so it's about this.
Does a Mulchaney flyer in State Rep 22 race suggest new lines of influence in the South Hills? Oh man,
it's an inside.
My heart. What a nerdy, what a inside.
My 290 followers were highly gratified by that tweet.
Jeez.
I cater to a fairly sophisticated crowd, Lynn. If you're not up to that level, I'm sorry.
Well, I guess
the world needs ditch diggers too, and maybe we can hit you up with Ted Nugent's Twitter feed.
Yeah, maybe I could share a little PBR with Ted.
Ted doesn't drink PBR. He drinks, I don't know, blood straight from the artery of a deer or something, probably.
So,
out of the skull of a VC or something, I don't know.
So the First Lady was in town as well.
Yes.
And I had mentioned I was invited to these. Yeah, I know. I was regaling the audience with what it cost to go to dinner in Fox Chapel with the First Lady.
What was it?
$10,000.
Yeah.
Per couple. So I guess maybe they would have. I think.
So you and I could have gone Dutch.
No, but they. Yeah, they're right. But they acted as though they wouldn't want a single person. There was nothing for singles.
Right,
I'm
there
assuming,
you go.
Right. Whatever. Oh, and if 25,000, you could practically sit on her lap. I think is what it's.
No.
Yeah. And for the thing at the Rivers Club, they said minimally you could get in for $100, but you'd be You'd have
to be the bathroom attendant.
Yeah, right.
You'd have to hand out the towelettes to the real donors.
They said there was very limited opportunity, and then for $250, which was also limited, you could maybe be one step out of the bathroom. But the paper said there were only 200 people at that one, and you didn't get anything special until you forked over $1,000 for that baby, and then you would get the $5,000 got you a little clutch. Do you know what a clutch is?
Yeah, I know what a clutch is. I have a wife.
Well, it doesn't. I don't think my husband would have known what a clutch was. So here's some good news. That awful legislative group for conservatives.
ALEC. Yes, the American Legislative Exchange Council. Yes.
Boy, hey guys, see, you can get them on the run.
Yep.
I mean, ever since the horror. The murder of Trayvon Martin, one of the laws that these SOBs have pushed on half the states, actually I think more than half the states, I think they're up to 26, is the Stand Your Ground law. Well, because of the hue and cry over all of that and the pressure put on by just a grassroots campaign to put pressure on the corporate sponsors of ALEC, a lot of them have withdrawn their money, including McDonald's, Coke, Kraft Foods. That's who underwrites this stuff. So you wonder, you think, who controls the legislature in Harrisburg and the legislature in, what's this capital of Florida? Tallahassee. That's right, Tallahassee. Well, if the Republicans are in office, the people that control them are people like this, these corporate donors to these legislative it's just,
of course, now ALEC is dropping.
They say we
its
won't
advocacy of these social type issues, and now it's just going to get back to the hard work of screwing us over economically.
Right? They said they're going to back off and just do the issues that McDonald's and Coke really care about.
Right.
Because McDonald's and Coke don't care.
Right. You can imagine the outraged phone call from the CEO of Coca-Cola. I thought we were paying you to screw over our workers.
Yeah. Right.
What's all this voter ID crap? Yeah, they don't want that stuff.
No,
they just don't want
to pay taxes.
Yeah,
and they want to be able to bust unions and just the normal,
the good,
stuff.
Honest work that ALEC used to do. So let's get back to our founding principles. Yeah, what does Tallahassee mean anyway?
Spell it.
I don't know, TALLAHASSEE.
Yeah. So there's double letters until you get to the
It's an Indian
L.
word, I'm sure.
No, there's double letters except the H.
Yeah. It's probably an Indian word. It's probably like Seminole for...
Well, Seminole's a tribe.
Gathering place for idiots or something like that.
Seminole is a tribe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a Seminole word for...
Why'd you say it was gathering place for idiots?
I was saying... Like,
for Tallahassee.
Yeah. Like
Gotcha.
That's what
I got you now.
It was just a joke. She completely fucked it up. I'm out of here. Screw it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
My contract's up for renewal anyway.
This ought to make you feel better. Speaking of idiots, it appears that because of the warm weather, that now more Americans do believe in global warming.
Right, and then next week, if it's cold, they won't again
anymore.
because that's what they've been doing on the right all this
Okay,
time.
a majority of Americans now agree that global warming is behind the unusually warm winter. 69%, in fact.
Great.
Now see that it's affecting the weather. And so there's some excitement on the scientists' side saying, oh, goody, 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 people are starting to connect the dots. But as you said, they'll disconnect the dots the minute the weather returns to normal.
Or once they realize what... I mean... Is it sort of ironically, I think yesterday or the day before, Media Matters, the website, had a really interesting thing about how the coverage of global warming, even as we've had more weird weather like we've had in the past few months, the coverage of that of the concept of climate change and all that stuff has actually been declining precipitously. And there was something about the Sunday morning talk shows have devoted more airtime to Donald Trump than they have to global climate change, which just, I mean, like that just sums up everything you need to know about American political and social discourse, I think.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen this. Chris writes, what do you think of the commercials running for Kane with Bill Clinton support?
Yes.
Well,
Bill
I know
Clinton
I've heard they say Bill Clinton supports her, but I mean, does he make an endorsement of some sort during him or no? Clinton does support her.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I decided.
What do I think of them?
No, yeah, we'll ask you. What do you think? Well,
I have an opinion. I mean, Kane's pretty hot. that's
okay. Well,
that's my theory.
Okay, there you go.
That's my theory.
There you go. Here's the other possibility. Yeah, she's a babe. Here's the other possibility. I think that maybe her opponent, Murphy, didn't support Hillary.
That's right. He was an early backer of Barack Obama.
He was an early backer of Barack Obama, and Clinton is paying him back. That's my guess, which is what is really going on there. Okay, and speaking of Tallahassee being the gathering place for idiots.
Yeah.
Back to Florida and the great legislature there and their wonderful laws, the Stand Your Ground law, which I just call shoot any black man you feel like
threatened by,
you feel like, well, since a lot of people feel threatened by every black man. Yeah, just go killing him.
Except for Colonel Allen West.
Oh, yeah. God. Okay, Florida also passed a despicable law that mandated drug testing for anybody who wanted any kind of welfare benefit.
Right.
Thus, solidifying in their constituents' minds that the people on welfare are drug users.
Right.
Right. You know those people. Those people.
Clearly, if you get laid off in this country, it's your fault.
Yeah, it is your fault.
You did something wrong.
So now an independent study done since the law has been in effect shows that...
I can't imagine. Wait. What could it be? Could it be that the policy actually makes no appreciable difference whatsoever?
Yeah. Welfare benefits, requiring drug testing, the laws, it resulted in no direct savings, snared few drug users, and had no effect on the number of applications.
Wow. Just like everyone said
it would.
Going into it.
Yeah. But the idiots will be back with something new and wondrous.
Right.
They don't stop. They don't learn. They just keep on a-coming.
Yeah.
They're, oh, God. So, yes, and Thomas writes, I'm so happy you enjoyed crime. I mentioned about black women wearing hats and how I just so was in awe of them. And this guy in Murraysville, Tom, sent me a book that is just filled with...
Oh, yeah, I've seen this book, actually.
It's wonderful.
I've seen this book.
It is wonderful.
Are you just reading this now?
Yes, I am. Okay, I'll get to it later.
Good radio, Lynn.
Okay, all right. It seems personal, so we'll forget about it. Okay. Second break, and then
good time. And then back for the final stretch.
Yeah.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Hey, Billy, want to go to the state fair?
Yeah!
Well, you can't.
Huh?
Well, you see, Billy, when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have done with it. But now your parents are becoming energy efficient. They could save hundreds of dollars a year and take you to the fair next year.
I want to go now.
I know you do. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on tickets to the ballet, opera, City Theater, Science Center, Symphony, History Museum, and the Carnegie Museums. bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's only online deal site where the deals don't expire. bergbargains.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Thank you, Chris.
See, I had to fill in while you were doing your hair or whatever.
Okay, I wasn't doing my hair. It was. So here we are, and I couldn't help but note that the cover story in this issue of your wonderful newspaper is the same subject that I've been seeing in the Post-Gazette.
Indeed.
And in, I don't know, everywhere. It's like...
It's funny you mentioned that, Lynn. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, so is this the first time I've seen the what has resulted from this, whatever this consortium of news gathering is? Explain this.
So our story, just to let folks know, we were talking a little bit about Patrick Murphy, and one of the things that Patrick Murphy is running on and that makes him sort of interesting is that he is a veteran of Iraq. He served in the 82nd Airborne as a lawyer, essentially, sort of a combat attorney. And our story is about veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan who've come home and are now becoming more politically involved in one way, shape, or form or the other. And that piece is part of this broader effort that, as you mentioned, the Post-Gazette is taking part in. Essential Public Radio, the new DUQ, is taking part in. Pop City, the website, is involved as well. And we're all sort of bundling up together and doing what this project called Coming Home PA. Right. And it's being coordinated, as you mentioned, by Public Source, which is this sort of Pittsburgh ProPublica, nonprofit online journalism venture. They've done some other stuff, but they've done some stuff. They've worked. They've sort of teamed up with the Post-Gazette on some stories recently about the criminal investigation going on at SCI Pittsburgh. They did a project several months ago about Marcellus Shale drilling.
But do they employ other journalists?
They do. They have a staffer or two on there in addition to Sharon Walsh, who runs the whole operation. Okay. And they themselves have contributed some stories. I think if you go to publicsource.org, our story that's out today, you'll see there's a link in there. You can go to our website, and there are links to all the other projects being done by these other things. So it's an interesting sort of combined effort, and we'll kind of see where it goes.
Well, I mean, as somebody who gobbles up news, I must admit this sort of concentration on this issue, does. I guess it's helpful. I mean, if you're interested or you want to wake people up about something, it certainly might help to get people's attention to what goes on with the veterans once they come back here.
And it's an important issue. I mean, Pennsylvania, for a variety of reasons, has one of the highest veteran populations of any state in the union. Right. And interestingly, this kind of informed the piece that we did. One of the guys I spoke to basically said, in Pittsburgh, if you're going to run as a veteran for office, Pittsburgh is people sort of value that service and respond to it more in this part of the country than in a lot of others. Right. And this guy works for sort of a national organization, so he's in all kinds of places. So it's an interesting, so it's a really important issue anywhere in the country, but I think especially in Pennsylvania. That's one of the reasons we did it, was because there are a lot of these guys coming home. And while the benefits that are being offered to veterans are actually quite good, there's obviously, as I think the Post-Gazette made clear over the weekend, a lot of work still to be done. There is some
serious improvement that needs to be done. I give you an item from a recent column from Nicholas Kristof. an American soldier dies every day and a half on average in Iraq or Afghanistan. I think we can take Iraq out of that now.
Yeah.
Veterans, however, kill themselves at a rate of 1 every 80 minutes.
Yeah.
An active duty soldier dies every 1.5 days in war, but here at home, they're killing themselves almost 1 an hour. More than 6,500 veteran suicides are logged every year, which is more than the total number who have been killed in both Iraq and Afghanistan combined. So quite clearly, we're not doing enough for our veterans. Quite clearly, we send people off to war, and thank you very much, and then they come back here, and the suicide rate for them is over the top.
Yeah.
They're often home. We're not doing, this is the thanks they get.
Well, honestly, I'll tell you what I think. And this has just come from reading the coverage elsewhere and some conversations we had. One of the things that Patrick Murphy told us, because he had run for Congress and served in Congress and actually pushed through the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He said one of the things that got him to run for politics and run for office in the first place was seeing how shorthanded and short of funding the effort was over there. And I think what we've kind of seen is we send these guys back over and over again because the force is small, but the commitment is large. And so these guys are getting progressively more and more stressed out, and women too, I should be clear, because they're redeployed time and time again. And a lot of them are reservists.
Because most Americans do not volunteer to do it.
So there's this interesting thing here and part of what's interesting about it, just from the story we did, is although the percentage of Americans serving is as low as it's been in any of our lifetimes, probably the premium, the at least the lip service we pay to the value of service has never been higher. And so there's this interesting kind of duality there. And I think what we're seeing is the benefits are better than they've ever been, but the stress we're putting on these guys, sending them time and time and time again. And these are not I guess there's no good war, right? But the situation these guys are in is a whole different order of complexity.
And the thing I've learned from reading some of the stuff that I know the PG has done on this issue is they can't get jobs. And one of their military service, let's say, they've learned how to do this and that, it doesn't translate. I mean, you can drive a tank over in Afghanistan, but you can't drive a truck here. And the other thing is that small businesses, and I can sort of understand now that we've all caught on the way we fight these wars, that what used to be the reserves of the National Guard, which we thought of as sort of like, they never went to
helping
war.
Helping people out of floods and so on. And so forth.
My whole sense of what those two things are has totally been changed in the last 10, 12 years. And so they don't want to give if somebody has on a resume that they're a member of the National Guard, that's a killer.
Yeah.
They don't want to hire them because they figure they're going to be yanked out of their job, and understandably.
Yeah.
So what should be a plus, I am a patriotic American, I'm in the reserves, I'm in this, it's a killer. Yeah. It's a killer.
Because and because of the situation they're being put in.
Something more has to be done. There's not enough mental health services. There are waiting. I mean, these.
I'd say something less has to be done, and the less is we need to
stop
do less
going
of
to
this
war.
Kind of stuff. Yeah, we need to be the cops of the world.
Well, if you listen to the Republicans, they'll have us in Syria and Iran.
Yeah.
If you go ahead, elect the Republicans, we can redouble our efforts in Afghanistan.
Incidentally, one of the things, I wasn't able to put this in the story, is the one cut that I had made that I wish I didn't have to make for space. And because of that, I'm going to mention it now.
Do it.
If you elect, one of the questions I had was, so if you elect a politician who's a veteran, what difference does that make in terms of how they make decisions? Would it make them, say, more or less likely
to be militaristic?
To vote in favor of,
quite
invading
the opposite.
Iran? Actually, it's a nuanced question. They're less likely to vote to go to war.
Yeah.
But once the decision is made,
then they
are more likely to escalate and to use overwhelming force and do all the other stuff. The perfect example was Iraq. You remember that the generals said,
that's right, let's just go in.
You'll need several 100,000 troops, and all those civilian geniuses in the Bush administration said, no, we'll be able to do it with this light footprint.
I believe Rumsfeld's famous quote, we go to war with
the army you have, not the army you wish to have. And truly inspiring words from a man.
Oh, dear God.
We'll all be.
Yeah. Who is, I'm
still waiting for his brain transplant, from what I understand.
Well, speaking of transplants, so Dick Cheney is, geez, that's his first heart.
His very first heart.
Yeah. I wonder, I was
After
thinking.
70 years, I thought I'd try one out.
I know. Once if he had a heart, actually had a heart transplant, that he would be more compassionate. Yeah, it hasn't worked. No, not at all.
It didn't take.
Isn't that weird? So
maybe that's part of the rejection.
Yeah.
he's taking those drugs.
He's not taking enough rejection. No, he's not taking enough. He has still whatever. I can't believe he got a heart.
Doctor, last night I started weeping for no readily apparent reason. Take more of the anti-rejection drugs, my friend.
Was it the Cowardly Lion who needed the heart?
Of course.
Yeah, it was.
And the Tin Man who needed the brain.
The brain and the...
No, wait, it was Carolina who needed courage. What the hell are we talking about? It was the Scarecrow who needed the brain. And the Tin Man who needed the heart. Jesus.
And the lion needed...
courage.
So he didn't need an organ.
Right, I guess
the others he just needed courage.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah. So he got drunk, and that's how the movie ends, I think.
Well,
then he went out and punched a cop.
Okay, so here's what I need to tell my audience. I'm leaving tomorrow.
Oh.
I'm doing the show. Okay. Then I'm going to fly out.
Okay.
And I'll be returning Wednesday. So my first show back will be with you.
Oh, good.
And I just want you to know you're going to have to carry that show. It will be arriving very late. Very late.
Okay.
And seriously jet-lagged. Okay.
But you're going to be on time, right? I'm not going to have to do
this.
Oh,
no, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here, but I just want you to know I'm going to look really blurry-eyed. And then immediately after, Jess and I are heading over to the ballpark and going to a game.
Oh, how fun. And you didn't invite me, even though I'll be carrying your show.
I only have 2 tickets.
Oh, I see. All right.
Administrative Professionals Day.
It's Administrative Professionals Day.
One of my many jobs.
That's right. She's my administrative professional. Isn't that nice?
Well, what am I, chopped liver? No, that's cool. Whatever.
I've got tickets to another Wednesday afternoon game. Would you come to that?
I don't know.
You don't want to go. See, he just...
As long as you get the nachos, because I had a problem the one time.
Okay. So the thing is, guys, is that I'll be here tomorrow, and supposedly Tom Sokolowski's return.
Oh, really?
Appearance.
He'll probably do it Diana Ross style or something. He'll just drop from a helicopter or something in a glittering gown.
Whatever. Well, I should talk what?
No, it's fine. I'll see you next week. Have a safe trip.
You do that a lot. The last time I saw you, you said, and then you stopped.
Yeah.
And there's like this, you have a self-censor.
Yeah, but he's a little slow.
He's a little bit slow. So you start, and then you leave people I wonder what. Yeah, you do that all the time. And I wonder what you would be censoring, since you don't censor a lot.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's got to be good.
Yeah, or bad.
Okay, so get that guy to work a little bit better, because otherwise you leave.
Or not at all.
Yeah, or whatever. Or not at all. Right. Exactly.
All right.
Okay, guys, thanks very much for listening. Tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.